Stone Cold Mystery. We have some rather compelling stone mysteries around the world. Buildings, sculptures, and remnants of a time past that we can barely get our head around these days. And if we didn't have so much of it just lying around and still in situ, I doubt we would believe it to be true and would consign it to myth and fiction. But they are there. Baalbek in Lebanon, the Moai on Easter Island, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Petra in Jordan, churches in Ethiopia, Angkor Wat temple complex in Cambodia, and many others. The African pyramids, South American pyramids, vast quarries and evidence of activity and grand projects across the globe. And some things are a bit further along in the weathering and ageing process, showing only a hint of what once was, and imagination seems to fill the gaps for the archaeologists and historians sometimes. Like Stonehenge and the multitude of other stone circles all throughout Europe and the world, dolmens in Spain and Portugal, menhirs and Karnak stones in France, various sites in the Americas, Russia, China, Japan, and so on. And people speculate on things that appear to be leftovers from something that isn't quite recognisable anymore, but something about it catches our eye. And whether we create patterns as they say we are prone to, or we are actually just good at spotting patterns. The Richat structure in Africa, for example, with its concentric circles, was put forward as a possible candidate for the elusive and legendary Atlantis, and I can see why. But I recently read an excerpt from a 1747 journal, which described a petrified city of round form in Africa, with the usual strange direction of that time period. 2 days south of Orihuela, and 17 days southeast of Tripoli. Make of that what you will, but depending on the mode of transport, you could find yourself perhaps near the Richat structure. Although there are a number of places named Tripoli, and as things are renamed and moved, who can say for sure? There is another twist to the story of stone though, as we also have rumours and legends of abilities, and of curses, magic, and of people and places being turned to stone in an instant. Medusa, one of 3 sisters, all Gorgons who could turn people to stone if they looked at them. Return to Oz. In the sequel to the original, Dorothy found all the inhabitants of the Emerald City had been turned to stone by the villain. Willow. Acorns that can turn things to stone when it touches them. But there was also a scene near the end where the abandoned castle showed the people encased in what looked like crystal stone. Obviously, they all get saved at the end, but almost as if they were in cryostasis, which then makes me think of the Superman scene, when Zod and the other 2 are trapped in the 2D crystal, spinning off into space. So, could it be that there is a type of process that can petrify an entire city? Well, if you look at Pompeii, it seems there is a known process that can capture a place and people in time, solidified to then be buried or face the ages and elements as part of the landscape. Could it have happened in other conditions we aren't quite aware of yet? Where we see old stone could be much newer than we give it credit for, and have a much more human origin than we would care to believe. We do, however, like to build and record things in stone by way of statues, sculptures, carvings and architecture, using it to shape the world around us and leave a record behind us. Even if, as time goes by, we aren't exactly sure what those records are trying to tell us. But that is where it becomes a mystery, and based on what we have to hand in these modern times, the game is definitely afoot.